Hey friends, and welcome back to the podcast. So many of you have been following along with Cassidy, who is a current high school senior, as she navigates the college application process. And to date, we've walked through her brainstorming exercises, her personal statement writing, and her supplemental essays. And now, at long last, Cassidy has received her college acceptances. So rather than reading the email that she sent me, which said college acceptances in the subject, I emailed her and I said, hey, I know you emailed me with your acceptances. I don't want to look at it. What if we did a live reveal on the podcast? And so she generously said that she was willing to do this. And what you'll hear in a minute is me live reacting with her. Well, she already knows, but I didn't know where she got in. And huge shout out to Cassidy for being such a good sport on this. In our conversation, we get into a bunch of things, including the extent to which she felt she had a successful application process. And then separately, I ask her to what extent she felt she had successful outcomes. Now, there's a difference there, which I'll talk a little bit about on the podcast. We'll talk about which schools she was accepted into. And then we get into, because she hasn't quite decided where she's attending as of this recording, some important factors for making a final college decision. And we focus on what my college counseling team at College Essay Guy calls the 6 F's of college fit: focus, fellowship, finances, future, family, and feeling. So you can hear Cassidy as she sort of weighs the pros and cons of her top schools. She talks about what she did well and what she'd do differently in the process. Finally, I guide her through a quick, fun exercise that you can do if you're trying to decide where you want to attend, if you're a student, or if you know a student who's trying to decide. And you can decide in either a day, an hour, or even 1 minute. For real. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Cassidy. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, long time no talk.
I know. Just curious, how is your life right now? We're in April of your senior year.
Yeah, it's been really nice actually lately. I've been loving my second semester of senior year. So much less stressful, and yeah, it's been good.
Has senioritis hit yet, or are you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely have some senioritis, but it's been good, I think. Yeah.
I'm curious, just before we get into things, I'm curious to what extent before you reveal where you got in, didn't get in, to what extent did hearing back from colleges impact the way that you looked at your studies, at your classes?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it was kind of stressful because it almost felt like a culmination of everything I've been working for the past 4 years. So it was pretty nerve-wracking in that respect. But also I feel like I was really trying to remind myself that the college decisions weren't a marker of how well I was doing in school or how hard I had worked, because I know I've worked hard. So I was really just trying to keep that at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah. And before we even get into the outcomes, I'd love for you to reflect just a little bit to what extent, looking back on your process, meaning the work that you put into your college applications, to what extent do you feel like you had a successful process?
I think it was really successful. Honestly, I feel like the college essay guide motto, isn't it purpose, joy, and clarity or something like
ease,
that?
Yeah.
Ease, yeah.
Yeah, but clarity goes with ease, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I really hit all 3 of those points with my college applications. Yeah, I felt like I really had a plan of action, which was nice. And in the end, I really felt like no matter what the outcome was, I feel like I put really good work into my essays, and I'm proud of it.
Cool. Yeah, I really sense that from you. Just in our conversations and, in your work on the course, you just seemed like you were setting yourself up well. And by well, I mean setting yourself up to feel at the end of your process, when you submitted everything, to feel this was the best you could do. And then, it seemed like you were letting go to a large extent and just sort of putting it in the college's hands, which is what I hope for students.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right. Drum roll then. We're not literally going to do a drum roll, but let's hear it. What were your acceptance results? And just so folks have a reminder, will you just remind folks, because maybe this is the first podcast episode they're listening to, will you just remind folks of what were some of your sort of top choices and what were some of the programs that you were looking for?
Okay, so I applied as a biology major to all the schools, looking to be on the pre-med track. And then my favorite schools were UCLA, USC, UC San Diego, and then Stanford was like a really reach school for me.
Cool. And remind folks, where did you apply early?
Early action, I did to Stanford and USC.
Cool. All right. Give us a sense. How did things turn out?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm excited.
I think for me, I was surprised.
Okay.
Like, I was not expecting it to like go in this direction, which is like, I feel like not in like either way, like a good or a bad way. I was just surprised.
Okay. Oh, this is great. You're building it up even more. So I'm like edge of my seat here.
Yeah. Okay. Should I start?
Let's do it. Let's hear.
Okay. So.
Some people have been waiting. By the way, Cassidy, some people have been waiting months to find this out on this podcast. So.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Well, I hope it's fulfilling for you.
Okay.
Should I start? How should I start? Acceptances,
Yeah,
waitlists?
whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Okay. I'll start. You know what? I'll start with the rejections.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I got, unfortunately, rejected from Stanford, but that's okay. And also Cal Poly SLO.
Okay.
Waitlisted. I was waitlisted at UC Irvine and UCLA.
Okay.
And then I was accepted to UC Berkeley,
Yes.
UC San Diego,
Awesome.
UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis, UC Santa Cruz, UC Riverside, USC, Chapman, Biola, CSU Long Beach, and San Diego State.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps all the way up and down. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And how did it feel then? It's a weird question, but I'm also curious, like, how does it feel now? So I was going to ask you, like, how does it feel now? But it's been a few weeks. So maybe I'm going to ask you two questions at once. How did it feel to hear back from those schools? And how does it feel now?
It was so, I don't know, just so incredible to hear back from those schools. And then also, like, I feel like even as I was opening the decisions, I felt really at peace with whatever outcome was going to be facing me. So, yeah. But obviously, I was so stoked when I opened those.
Good.
Yeah, I definitely cried for a few.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm feeling stoked right now for you.
Oh.
And I want to congratulate again. And I think you're already focused on this, but I want to congratulate you again on all your hard work, because I think you really set yourself up well to have some awesome options. And it's just a testament to again, your work. I mean, yes, your smarts and your creativity and all that other stuff, but this is just beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay. So I asked you earlier to what extent you felt like you had a successful process. Now I want to separate and ask a different question, which is, to what extent do you feel you had successful outcomes based on this?
Okay, outcomes. Honestly, I'd say successful. And like I said, I think it was surprising to me.
Yeah, what surprised you?
I think I was the most surprised about Berkeley. I did not expect to get into Berkeley at all. And then also, I feel like between Berkeley and LA, if I were to get into one of them, I thought maybe LA would be more, like, match me more, you know? But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm really grateful for Berkeley. So that was a big surprise. I feel like USC was a big surprise also. And then just the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of like a meta side note to like I think you know why I'm doing this, but the reason I want to separate your process from outcomes is that I think sometimes students go into this process with like a Stanford or bust mentality. And they're like, yo, if I get into Stanford, it's successful. And if I don't get into Stanford, I've failed and I've let my parents down. I've let my everybody down. And I just want to like side note to like anybody listening, students who are going through this process, and also parents. It's like, if you can separate the successful process and determine what are those things that I can control, that I can do, and get to that point where you got to, which is like, hey, I did everything I could. And then it's separate from the success, the success or not of the outcomes. I just think that's such an important step. And I see you at being such a healthy, mature place with this. So I appreciate you modeling this for us.
Oh, thank you.
Now, have you decided where you want to go yet? Or do you want to like talk that through a little bit?
No, I have not decided.
Okay, cool. Then that's going to make for a more interesting podcast. So what I'd love to do is I'd love to walk you through. So you met Renee. Renee is my colleague who, helps students with their college counseling stuff at College Essay Guy. And she helped you with the college list. One of the things that she and my other colleagues, we talk about is the 6 F's, like the letter F of college fit. And so I'd love to just walk you through these. And I'm just going to kind of give you one, tell you what it means. And then I'd love for you to just reflect on to what extent you feel like your colleges will help meet that need. So does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay. So for the first one, let's talk about focus. That's the first F. And by focus, what I'm talking about is like your academic and non-academic priorities. So but basically, to what extent do the colleges you're applying to have what you're looking for? So like special programs, academics, like all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so my top choices right now, I'm debating between Berkeley, USC, and UC San Diego.
Okay.
So for Berkeley, I feel like they have amazing research opportunities and awesome academics. San Diego, I think they also have good research opportunities and good academics as well. And then USC, I feel like they have really good connections to professors and research, like really, really good. Yeah.
So is there anything in terms of the research opportunities, in terms of the connections, in terms of the programs that makes any of these top 3 choices stand out for you?
Yeah. So in terms of research, I think USC or UC Berkeley stands out the most because I've been reading up on Berkeley and I didn't even realize this before, but they just have like incredible stuff happening on their campus, which is so cool. But then USC, I think because it's a private, smaller school, it's easier maybe to get involved in research.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about the next one, fellowship. So this is like, who do you want to share your experience with? Talking about like finding your people. When you think about quote unquote finding your people, where do you get a sense among these 3? So let's just focus on Berkeley, UCSD, and USC. How do you feel like each of these what is your sense of your ability to find your people at any of these institutions?
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about this a lot. I feel like I gravitate most towards UC San Diego in terms of like the vibe and the people. I feel like I'd really be able to connect with the students on campus, even looking at like the admitted students' Instagram pages. I feel like the type of people that post are most like similar to me, I guess. I mean, obviously, I think I'll be able to find my people at all the campuses. But then Berkeley, for me, I feel like it's people who are very, very academic and motivated. And to an extent, like, yes, I feel like I am motivated, but like that crazy motivation, like that's not me. And then USC, I feel like it's maybe a bit more of a party school, which is maybe not my scene as much. So yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the third F, which is financial. Which school, in the words of Jerry Maguire, showed you the money? Like, and you probably haven't even seen Jerry Maguire. So like, yeah, how did things come back in terms of the financial piece?
Yeah, so they all turned out pretty good, which I'm really grateful for. But UC Berkeley is going to be the most affordable for me. And then UC San Diego, and then USC. Amazing.
That's so great to know. And that gives me some sense of like, to use that word again, ease, just knowing that. Because I remember, and I say this to students because when I applied to college, finances were going to be a big deal because I was an EFC 0 kid, meaning, we needed scholarships. And so it's almost like you have 2 acceptance rounds. Like you have the initial acceptance round, and then you have the second round, which is like finding out about money. And I'm curious for you, did each school tell you that you got in and then tell you about the money, or did any of the schools tell you about the money at the same time?
Yeah, the UCs told me at the same time. I was able to open my decision letter and then open my financial status. But then USC took, I think, a week or 2. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. And I just want to prepare students who are listening for that reality. Okay, good. Cool. So that's good to know. So it sounds like any of these 3 could be possible for your family.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Fourth F, let's talk about the future. So to what extent, when you think about how this college might set you up for success in the future? We're talking connections, which you mentioned briefly, alumni network, et cetera. What is your sense given, for these 3 schools?
So I actually haven't thought about this one too much yet, but it's good that we're talking about it now. But I feel like maybe I've heard Berkeley has a strong alumni network, I think. So that might be at the top for the future category, and then USC, and then UC San Diego, I feel.
Great. And, just to give you some things to think about or to research if you want, some follow-up questions. And by the way, the stuff that I'm sharing right now with Cassidy, you'll find on a blog that we'll put into the show notes. But one of the things that you could, if you wanted to do more research on this, is to ask the colleges what kind of programming and advising do they have for post-grad. So oftentimes they'll have an office that you can just go and, they'll set you up with someone to talk to, and you'll start to do this planning. And this isn't something obviously that you need to do as a first year, but some have really robust programs and networks, et cetera. And some are like, yeah, you can go talk to Sam, And so, but all 3 of these schools are large enough schools that they're probably going to be somewhat comparable, is my guess. But you can also look at the college alumni reports. There are sometimes, big, huge, organizations, within the schools that are devoted to this. And, this is another one that I think is a great question to ask students, students who've graduated from these institutions. If you know anybody who's gone to these schools, you can say, hey, how did they set you up afterwards? With my institution, Northwestern, there was a huge alumni network, and it's really active and involved, particularly in Los Angeles where I live. So this might be one to just, ask around about and poke around.
Good to know.
Cool. All right. So let's talk family. This is the next F on our list. Is there anything that you'll need to consider in terms of your family? And it could be, for instance, distance from home. And that could be, either you want to go away or you want to stay close. Any logistics or anything like that to consider?
Yeah. So when I was applying, I really only applied to California schools because I wanted to stay close enough to my family where I could, come home for breaks, but also not super close. So that's the thing about Berkeley, is that it is pretty close to my home. I didn't want to go down to Southern California, but I think for all of them, yeah, my family would be pretty similar.
All right, that sounds great. So whether you're in Southern California, Northern California, you're good. Okay, awesome. So let's get into the last one. This is feeling. So this is like tapping into your gut. You mentioned vibes a little bit, and this is sort of like, I don't know, my friend Dan would call this your heart tug. Are you feeling a heart tug to any of these schools in particular?
Yes, and that is honestly what is making it so hard for me to decide. UC San Diego was one of my dream schools. It has been for almost all of high school. I visited a few times, and I also just love San Diego, the city. Yeah, I feel like I would really love the vibe of UCSD. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So let me tell you back what I'm hearing so far, and then I want to see to what extent it feels like it reflects what you've shared with me. So if we're looking at these 6 Fs, first we start with just the focus. So in terms of where is your academic focus? And, sometimes students come in with an academic focus, sometimes not. And sometimes focus can also mean to what extent you feel like it's got the right extracurricular opportunities or programs. So far I'm hearing that Berkeley, UCSD, and USC all have pretty great programs, pretty great research, and pretty great connections. So I wasn't hearing a clear winner from those. Does that feel true? Or was there one that you're like, no, I'm still a fan of this one?
I'd actually say Berkeley, probably for that category.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Berkeley wins round 1. Okay, cool. Fellowship, finding your people. You said it could be any of them, but you're feeling like UCSD might be most your vibe in terms of people, that USC maybe is a little bit more of a party school, and that Berkeley, it seemed like the vibe, the students are a little bit more focused, academically oriented in a particular way, but UCSD seems to have a nice balance. Does that feel true?
Yeah, okay. For sure.
All right, cool. In terms of financial, the third F, it seems like Berkeley is the close winner, but you said it's pretty close, so it's not a huge determining factor, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. So Berkeley wins category 2, but it's by a slight margin. In terms of the future, you're feeling like maybe it's Berkeley. Does that feel true?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. In terms of family, any of them are good, so 0 points for any of those. And then in terms of feeling, UCSD has been your dream. You love San Diego, You love the vibe. So if I were to just score this, it seems like it's like Berkeley wins categories 1 and 3, and then UCSD wins categories 2 and 6. And then let's see. Oh, sorry. No, my bad. 1, 3, and 4. So Berkeley wins in terms of focus, financial, and future. UCSD wins in terms of fellowship and feeling. But of course, these are all weighted differently, right? So, because it sounds like with financial, it's not as big of a consideration. So you might not weigh that as heavily in terms of UCSD. Do you have a sense just right now of like where you're sort of leaning just based on all the research that you've done and even this conversation?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I feel like I'm leaning towards Berkeley right now, but and also leaning away from USC. I feel like of the 3, USC is probably not going to be where I end up. But I'll be visiting the campuses on their admitted students' days. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things I would say is like doing those admitted students' days, if for students who are listening, if you're able to, is such an awesome way to do it. Okay, so I have a follow-up question for you. I'm hearing you leaning towards Berkeley, even though you've got this heart tug for UCSD. I'm curious, what would need to be true in order for you to feel great about Berkeley? And another way of asking this is like, what are some assumptions that you have about Berkeley that you're maybe, hopefully, willing to be wrong about?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I have an answer for this.
Okay, great.
Few things. The food.
Okay.
I know they have good restaurants around campus, but I've heard that the dorm food isn't as good.
Okay.
And then also the people, like I know the stereotype for Berkeley is that it's like a really competitive culture.
Right.
So if I were to get confirmation that the stereotype is a little like overhyped maybe, then I feel like that would make me feel better about choosing Berkeley.
Okay. Great. I'm going to wave a magic wand and say, hey, it turns out, you come back from Berkeley, the dorm food is actually 7 out of 10 good. And you met some people that you're like, yo, these seem like my people. So those things are both solved. What else is left? Just check for a second and see, is there anything else that would keep you from feeling really great about Berkeley?
I feel like it's not as much a downside to Berkeley as it is an upside to San Diego. Mm-hmm. But I just love the San Diego campus, how it's so close to the beach. I love the beach. I really wanted to go to a college that would be close to a Southern California beach. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we can move the campus. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, that's and here's the thing about this is that there's always going to be trade-offs, right? No matter where you choose, and you know this. But I want to say that as a side note to students and parents listening. This is something that Stephen Antonoff, who literally wrote the book on this, The College Finder, he's like, you're always going to have trade-offs. And so the question is like, which trade-offs can you be with? Can you be okay with? And then when you're not at school, or after the 4 years, you can go back and get those things potentially. So the question you'd be asking yourself is like, okay, if I had these things, whatever's on your list, would I be okay not having these other things? So that's just something else to think about. So I'd love to just walk you through a little exercise. One of them you can do in a day, one of them you can do in an hour, and one of them we can do in a minute. And all you need is a coin. Do you have a coin nearby that?
I do. I have my wallet right here, actually.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll get to the coin one in just a minute. All right. So here's what I'd love for you to try in the coming week and see how it goes for you. So I want you to imagine for the next 24 hours that I've waved a magic wand and you're going to Berkeley. So I don't know if you have like swag, sweatshirt or hat from school, but if you did, you could wear it. Just see how it feels. Okay. And just be like, I'm going to Berkeley, and that's it. And that's your Tuesday. Okay. Then on Wednesday, and you might need to write yourself a note, I want you to imagine that you're going to UCSD and just like, that's your Tuesday. Or sorry, that's your Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I want you to imagine you're going to USC, walk through your day, doing all the things. And you can even tell your friends, yeah, this is the one I'm going to. Now, if you tell them all three, they might be like, what? You just be like, I'm just experimenting here. And then, see how that feels. for each one of those. And you could do this literally this week, or you could wait till you do the admitted student days, of course. Okay. So that's one that you can do in a day. The second one is, I'm going to send you these notes, Cassidy, as a follow-up, but you could just spend an hour and just create a good old-fashioned pros and cons list. We've kind of already done it, but one way to do this is to create weights for each of these. So when it comes to, for example, finances, like how important is that and how many points does it get? Because it sounds like it's not going to get as many points. Whereas feel, for instance, might get more points. And you could do this again before you go or after you go and just see how after you go, how that changes things. And then the last one is one that we can do like literally right now. And we're just going to flip a coin. And heads, you go to Berkeley. Tails, you go to UCSD. And then we're going to repeat it in just a second with USC. Okay. So let's try it. So flip the coin. If it comes up heads, you're going to go to Berkeley. And if it comes up tails, you're going to go to UCSD. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, here's my coin.
Here's your coin. Let's do it.
It's tails.
It's tails. Congratulations. Yep. You're going to UCSD.
Woo!
All right. Sit with that for a second. How does it feel? What are you noticing in your body as you think about officially you're going to UCSD, the decision is made?
I feel happy that I get to go to my dream school, and I feel like I'd be in an environment where I'd be really happy, but then also a little bit of a loss. I feel like I gave up something, like a really good opportunity that was given to me.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it again. We're going to, this time, heads, you're going to UCSD. Tails, you're going to USC.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, wait, I don't know where it went.
It's okay. Let's see. Even if it landed on the floor, that counts.
Oh, wait, I got it.
All right.
It's heads.
Okay. You're going to UCSD.
Oh, the
again.
coin wants me to go to UCSD.
And how does that feel now?
Same, maybe a little more happy.
Okay, interesting. All right, let's do it one more time. Berkeley versus USC. This is going to kind of mess things up, but so heads, you go to Berkeley. Tails, you go to USC.
Okay. Tails.
Congrats, you're going to USC.
Yup.
First of all, congratulations. It's an amazing school. Now check in with yourself. How does it feel? You're going to USC.
I think exciting. Like, I'm excited because it's not like a school I've really researched that much. So it'll be fun to like discover. Maybe a little apprehensive because I'm scared about finding my people. Yeah.
Interesting. Seems like one of the assumptions is like, I assume, or maybe there's a curiosity about whether or not you could find your people at USC, which is great to know going into the admitted students day. Okay. So this little trick, this little thing, I don't know what it's revealing for you. You can let me know in a week, but you can obviously do this again after admitted students day. This was something somebody suggested to me, and I actually did this when I was applying to graduate school. And I flipped a coin, and I was at a physical theater program, and it came up that I was going to go to this physical theater program, and I was like, ooh, and immediately I knew I wanted to go to the other program. And so I did. I ended up going to UC Irvine for my master's. But my point here, and like folks who are listening, is like, even if it comes up the one, it might tell you that you want to go to the other. So yeah. All right. Last time I'll ask, where are you leaning right now? And then you can let me know in a couple weeks where you end up deciding.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards Berkeley right now.
Okay.
I think I have more faith that I'd be able to find my people at Berkeley. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's a very neat little bow for now for the listeners, but I want you to know that you have full permission to totally change your mind. Or send me an email and be like, Ethan, I don't know. I'm probably just going to re-ask you some of these questions though, because I ultimately think, these are all amazing schools, and you're just like, it's a win-win-win situation because I would be personally excited to go to any of these schools. And it seems like based on what you're looking for, these are all really close.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Congrats. Well, this has been fun. I want to ask before we go, I'm just curious, as you reflect on this process, as you look back, is there anything that you wish you had done differently?
Oh, I wish that I hadn't put so much pressure on myself when I was applying and writing my essays. I wish that I hadn't made it into such like a perspective of like, if I don't get into these colleges, then it's kind of like everything I've worked for these past years is pointless. And I really fought to like get over that. I wish I had fought a little harder.
Yeah. What would you go back in time and tell your younger self? And by younger self, I mean like yourself of like 6 months ago.
I would say that whatever happens, I think God has a place for me and that I'm going to end up where I'm supposed to be.
It feels like deep wisdom. I'm taking that in myself. And then as I guess final question is like, what do you feel like you did well? Like what's something that you wouldn't have changed about the process?
Well, I just said I would change not being too hard on myself, but I feel like I wouldn't change how hard I worked. I feel like I put a lot of work into my essays and I really made them into essays that I'm proud of, and that even if I didn't get in, I would have still been happy with how I wrote them.
Lovely. Cassidy, it's been such a pleasure to like hang out with you during this process.
Aww.
And I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for whatever college gets the benefit of having a Cassidy. They're really lucky.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you for your gift. So fun fact, I don't know if anybody who's listening to this follows us on social media, but I'm going to post I'll do it on the day the podcast is released. So we're releasing this on the 15th. On April 15th, we'll post a little fun social media reveal where there's a cool gift that Cassidy gave me that y'all can check out. I'm not trying to do this to get everybody to like subscribe to our Instagram, but if you wanted to, you could. But thank you for that gift. Again, it was really thoughtful. And yeah, it's just been really fun getting to know you. And I wish you the best.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to work with you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, this isn't goodbye. Email me whenever in a few weeks when you decide. And I'll be excited to hear. And then stay in touch.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Thanks, friends, for listening. You'll find the show notes, as ever, at collegeessayguy.com/podcast. You'll also find there the blog version of everything I walked Cassidy through, including a description of the 6 F's and the exercise that I walked her through at the end. As always, you can stay up to date with all that's happening in the college admission world by opting into anything on our website, collegeessayguy.com, and signing up for our newsletter. That's it. Be well and stay curious.